And now I'd like to welcome our guest for today, a guy who I met a couple of years ago doing comedy, and now we cross paths here in the travel industry. We got Jeremy Hall with us here today. Jeremy, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you guys for having me on.
Oh, of course, of course. Thank you for joining us. I know it's been a long time coming here, and I'm glad to have you on here to give a little expertise from your side and how things have been going from an advisor standpoint on cruises and anything as it relates to that in travel. So before we get started, just give the listeners here a little bit of knowledge on your background and how long you've been in the industry and what you do exactly.
All right. Well, I've been a professional travel advisor for 10 years. I am actually a second generation travel advisor. I've been traveling since I was a child, specifically cruises, which is why that's kind of my focus. But I, work with clients with destinations all over the world, not just cruises, but customized land travel. And I love what I do. And I think that's the best thing I can say about myself and my career is there is nothing better than sending clients out to make memories in the world.
Love it. Love to see it. Love to hear it. We'll just jump right into the questions here on cruising. We've got a lot to dive into. So first and foremost, do you think the White House and CDC should have extended the no sail order through October?
Yes, I think that they should have extended it through October because, it was only a couple weeks ago that the cruise lines sent them their recommendations for how they're going to keep things safe. And I think the CDC and the White House need time to analyze that and look that over. So I think that is respectable. I think the initial concept of canceling through March that was initially proposed would have been too far. If for some reason things get better, we can't cut anybody short on making money, whether it's the cruise lines, whether it's individual travel advisors and travel agencies, consortias, and there's travelers that want to get out there. And if things get better, they'd like to get out as soon as possible.
Definitely. And as somebody who sells a lot of cruises, how has your business and what you do on a day-to-day basis been impacted by these continued pushbacks? And I guess we now see the light at the end of the tunnel, though. So what has been happening leading up to all of this? And I know you mentioned before about pre-recording about war stories that you had. So how have it really been impacted?
It's been critical. 2020 has been critical. I spoke with our agency owners countless times about this, and it's affected us more than 9/11 did. It's affected us more than the financial crisis of 2008. This has been the most critical year in our 30-plus year history in the company. I think the worst of it is over. I think the first few months, nobody really knew what was going to happen. We didn't know if we were done for a month, if we were done for 2 months. That was back in March, and here we are in October, and we're still kind of done. So 2020 is pretty much a wash for us. So critical is the best term I could use for that.
That's rough. But how have you specifically been able to manage the crazy amount of trip postponements, cancellations, and what tips do you have for fellow advisors, handling the same and dealing with that?
The first thing I would say is have a process. We're in an era that the industry has never been in before. So there are certain things that, the databases that we use on a daily basis, they're not keeping track of clients' future cruise credits. They're not keeping track of whether the client canceled or the cruise line canceled. So we developed early kind of a strategy of how to keep track of all of these things. So I think staying on top of everything, staying on top of all of your clients' information, as far as when they canceled, are they getting a refund? Are they getting a future cruise voucher? At what percentage is that future cruise voucher? When will that be issued? When will the refund be issued? When does that future cruise voucher expire? There's a lot of things. And for me, what's really helped is keeping track of everything and having notes on everything so I can go back to it when I need to.
I think that's one of the biggest keys and points that we've heard from different travelers and agents that we've talked to is the organization, being on top of that, having all the information at hand. That's why people use advisors, and that's why advisors are so loved throughout travel. So in what ways do you think that advisors who heavily rely on cruise sales to come in, obviously have been decimated this year by that? Is there any ways or different unique things that they can do to turn things around here in Q4 or going into 2021? I think a lot of the things you just mentioned there are great tips to get, ramped up and have everything lined up in a row here. Is there anything else that you think that they would be able to do even in Q4?
For me, what's been very helpful is talking to my clients. I make sure I talk to my clients as often as possible. I have a lot of clients, so I'm not calling them every week, but I try to reach out to each client, every couple of months if I can. And, a lot of them are older. A lot of them have underlying conditions, and I genuinely want to know how they're doing. But I also want to take their temperature or their travel pulse to see how they're feeling about future travel. Yeah. Is this something like, do they want to get back out there as soon as possible? Are they the type of client that is, worried about their own health and they don't want to plan anything, not even for 21 or 22 until a vaccine has been developed and distributed? So talking to clients has really helped, because while talking with them, some of them just booked right away something for next year just by me checking in with them. So just having a conversation with your clients, I think, is the best thing we can do.
Absolutely. Communication is key, and staying on top of that. I'm sure you've obviously talked to them about some of the health and safety protocols that were recently announced. So I'd love to get your thoughts, and our listeners would love to know what you think of the health and safety protocols that cruise lines did announce in recent weeks.
I think they're reasonable. I think they're, as far as I know, I'm not an infectious disease expert. I'm a travel advisor, but from what I could see that they put forth to the CDC, it seems doable. It seems like it might be a little bit challenging for them logistics wise on the cruise lines side, but I think it's the best way to keep people safe on the ship. I really like the fact that the crew will quarantine for 7 days when they get on board the ship before they can start their duties, and of course testing negative after those 7 days. I really like that, that there's going to be some capacity issues that they're going to deal with. You're not going to be able to sail these ships at full capacity in the very beginning. And I think a lot of the cruise lines are aware of that. And you can already start to see some of them making some moves and putting the bigger ships out there first. The larger the ship, the more space, and the more people they can have with a passenger capacity issue. And also these newer ships have better ventilation systems. They're more built on the pod system, where each stateroom has its own ventilation system rather than the entire ship. So I like what the cruise lines have put out. And I think there's some wins that are going to come out of this that don't even have to do with coronavirus. And I know there's one or two cruise lines in particular that are no longer going to do muster drills the way that we've always known them. We used to always have to pack on the side of the deck before the ship could leave, standing all close together in our life vests. And now they've developed ways that we don't have to do that. And we could do it at our own leisure, spaced out at some point before the ship sails.
And have you heard anything from your clients as far as feedback goes on, like having to be tested and having to wear masks on board? Because we've heard mixed reviews on especially the masks.
And I've heard mixed reviews too. I've got those clients that are ready to go. They want to cruise so bad, and they're gung-ho about wearing their masks when they need to. I've got clients who say, no, that's not a vacation for me. I don't want to wear a mask. So those are the clients that won't be in that first wave of sailings. But I generally think, for the most part, because we're all wearing masks in our everyday lives already, and we've already become accustomed to them, I think there's a large percentage of people that are not going to have an issue with it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've seen it as well. And I think a lot of going back to these health and safety protocols that were announced, I thought they were really great and agree with what you're saying there. And I think if anything, you could get a lot of people to, kind of fall into the belief that the cruises, which would be true, they could be cleaner than they've ever been before. So right now might be one of the best times to go on there. And it's not, on a floating petri dish, as people often refer to them as. And I think they'll be cleaner than ever before. So do you think that people who necessarily haven't been a fan of cruising or haven't cruised a lot, is there any specific type of sales pitch that you talk to clients about, or ways that you think that you'd be able to convince them that cruising is good once these restrictions are lifted?
Well, the same sales pitch I'd use for post-coronavirus era is the same one I used for pre-coronavirus, which is a cruise is a great economical way to travel. You travel one destination, many ports of call, your hotel travels with you, your food, beverages are all taken care of. It's just an easy, calm way to travel. There's activities for you to do, or you can do nothing. It's a great method of travel. I think for those that are worried about the Petri dish issue, luckily it doesn't seem like self-serving buffets are going to exist any longer. And that was kind of the hub of where that worry came from. Being on a ship with lots of other people, to me, you've been on a plane with lots of other people. You've been in a hotel with lots of other people. But, with a hotel and a cruise ship, you can escape outside, go sit by the pool. You're in ports during the day. You go out to the beach. It remains to me the same as if you're staying in a hotel.
Agreed. Yeah. So have you been encouraged to take any cruise fams or to get that first-hand experience, or would you if they offer that, or if they do any like walkthrough inspections for cruise ships, before they are setting sail? Would you jump aboard any of those?
100%. 100%. So nobody has reached out to me or anybody in my agency that I know of and said, hey, as soon as we get started, we'd like you to come on board and do an inspection of the safety protocols. But I know for a fact, Richard Fain, chairman of Royal Caribbean, said in his video message a couple days ago that they plan on doing a couple test sailings, non-revenue test sailings. And if they're going to allow people to test out the new safety protocols, sign me up. I will jump on a plane. I have no issues with doing that.
I think that would be great. And that's one thing we've talked about on episodes in the past here is agents getting that firsthand experience and knowing what the things are like and what their clients can experience. So I think that would be extremely valuable.
And who better to have on these test runs than the travel advisors themselves?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd jump on it too. I'm right there with you, Jeremy.
Yeah,
and I'd go cruising now if I could, but we can't.
We'll work it out, and we're going to send you two down to Miami, and you guys are going to be on the first cruise ship that allows it, and we're going to run with it. I think that would be a great idea.
That'd be good.
That would be awesome.
And Jeremy, what other advice do you have, not even just specific to cruising, but just, from the business standpoint at all? We've talked a lot about different pieces of advice and tips that agents can take from here, and that's mainly what a lot of this podcast is about. So what other things would you offer out to advisors to do, whether it's pivoting their business model a little bit, things to do on the back end? Any advice there for other advisors listening?
Besides staying in touch with your clients, I think moving forward, we've all should have been doing a good job of it, but we really should make it, if not a priority, a requirement that our clients get travel insurance. Travel insurance is very important. We've all heard, stories of trips gone bad because somebody didn't have travel insurance. I think it's very, very important that clients purchase that from here on out, no matter what. And I think it's also important that we act our role. My role as a luxury travel advisor is to advise my clients. I've had clients ask me, I'm thinking about booking, for March. Tell me, will it be safe to travel then? Can't tell you that. That's that. I'm not I don't work for the CDC. It's not my job to tell you how it's going to be for sure. I can just advise you on what the protocols, procedures, and requirements are as of today. And that information changes. Since this pandemic started, those protocols and requirements and travel bans, they have changed monthly, if not weekly in certain places. Staying on top of it has been wild. It has been a wild ride. But I honestly think if we stick to advising and we stick to encouraging our clients to not shy away from travel, if it's deemed safe to do it, is what we should be doing.
100% agreed. Yeah, that's why working with a travel advisor is key, because they stay up on all that information and can help you. So anyone who's listening that's not a travel advisor, make sure you work with one for your next trip. So Jeremy, we really appreciate you coming on, man. Tell people how they can get in touch with you if they'd like to reach out to you, social handles, emails, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, you can reach out to me on Facebook. It's Jeremy Hall. I'm on Instagram, my travel agency. You can reach us on those social media accounts too. It's Cruise Vacations International. We're located in Fulton, Maryland. And reach out to me. Questions, you want to talk, let me know.
That'd be great. Yep, we definitely love keeping the conversation going beyond all our episodes. So we appreciate you coming on again. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Dan.